What's up, you guys? Janice Dolnick here. Happy Monday, June 20th. I am so excited that you guys are here. Shout out where you're watching from. What's up, Yvette? South Carolina. And also, let me know your nursing specialty. What's up, Lori Sue? Let me know where you guys are watching from, what your nursing specialty is. And today I'm going to go over one of the biggest, hang on here, I have some back noise. One of the biggest questions or myths that we see a lot about legal nurse consulting on the internet, in chat forums. What's up, Adria? Pretty much anywhere. Shout out in the comments, scam, if when you were doing your research into legal nurse consulting, if you ever heard someone say, my friend tried that, it's a scam, or I read that that's a scam, I read that it doesn't work. Because this is actually probably one of the biggest things you will find on legal nurse consulting if you were to Google it. And so I want to break this down and explain where scam came from, why this field, which is so incredible and can be incredibly lucrative to the person that, you know, head down and commits and is dedicated to it, how it got such a bad rap, because it's gotten a really bad name and it's heartbreaking. I feel that a majority of the time I talk to nurses, it's spent with people who read it's a scam. So I want to bust that today. I have a new kitten and she's trying to break in the door. So let's start with, is legal nurse consulting a scam? So a scam is defined in the Webster Dictionary as a dishonest scheme or a fraud. My son just brought me a Pepsi. That is so sweet. Thank you, buddy.
But you might not want to open it because I think I shook it by accident.
Oh, you shook it by accident? Okay. What's up, Christina? So the Webster Dictionary defines scam as a dishonest scheme or a fraud. Nurses who ask this question may really be saying, hey, Janice, this sounds too good to be true. Is this for real? Shout out in the comments if you've seen the word scam. I don't want it to explode on me, buddy. Oh, good job. Thank you. Because it is so it is such a normal thing. So what I want to do is, whoa. Can you go take the kitty to the bathroom? Hide it in the bathroom, please?
No, I can't. We have to keep it.
Okay, then pick him up. Sorry, new kitten and a puppy. So what is legal nurse consulting? I think the first thing we need to define for people who are looking into legal nurse consulting is, what the heck is it? How does it work? And I actually got a lot of questions the other day that I wanted to bring up, and I think I took a screenshot of it. So legal nurse consulting it's mainly, and I'm going to say mainly because there's nothing black and white about this field whatsoever. It's mainly,
There was such thing as a white Siri. I thought it was only a black Siri, but actually there's.
Can you hear my child? Probably not. Okay, buddy. There's actually a few ways that legal nurse consulting works. So a registered nurse typically works either behind the scenes with attorneys, helping them bolster and build their best case, or a registered nurse working as an expert witness, or they could do both. And as an expert witness, they're somebody who is an expert in that field. So say I did NICU for a number of years. My experience is NICU, a lawyer who took maybe a NICU case would hire me to go over the records and see, was there something wrong with the care? Was there even merit in the case? Did the healthcare providers do everything that they were supposed to do? And if so, then there's no merit in the case. A lot of times people think that, in fact, I got a comment on my Instagram the other day, oh, great, nurses telling on other nurses, what else? And I'm like, well, actually, A legal nurse, a legal nurse's job is not to tattle on their colleagues. A legal nurse's job is to go in and tell a lawyer whether or not there's merit in the case. Was there real negligence? As you saw in the Redonda Vaught case, you can have nurses work for the defense. So if a nurse is being sued, PJ, please stop. If a nurse is being sued, then they can hire a nurse expert to tell them about, what it's like working, 15 patients to one, what it's like working those 12-hour shifts. And, they're able to go in and quote unquote defend. I'm going to say quote unquote defend because we don't really defend. We go in and we identify the policies and procedures. Was a standard of care adhered to, or, did they deviate from the standard of care? But our job is not to tattle on our colleagues. That's a really big misconception in legal nurse consulting. So typically it's a registered nurse working behind. PJ, be quiet, please. My child, they always get loud when you have to do something important. So typically we've seen LVNs too, and I get a lot of questions about this. Can I do this as an LVN? I was actually an LVN. So those of you that are LVNs, raise your hand or shout out LVN in the comment section, because LVNs can actually do this. And I'm going to get nurses who have been doing this for 30 years going, oh, blasphemy. It's true. You know why it's true? Because you don't have to have a special certification to work with an attorney. And most people think you do. If an attorney chose to hire an LVN, say in-house, to help him go through medical records, create chronologies, most certainly they could do that. And most certainly they have. What's up, Christina? I'm so glad. See, we got an LVN in the house. You are so valuable. And don't you forget it. So we actually have quite a few LVNs that do work in-house and work as LVN/paralegals and help lawyers. So there is a field for LVNs. Typically what I try to explain to LVNs is that the programs tend to be pretty costly for even an RN. So when we look at an LVN, spending thousands of dollars on a program, they usually make less than an RN. So it has to really be a commitment they're willing to make to themselves and see through. So a few of the LVNs that are in our program have landed jobs in attorney offices. They absolutely love it. They do a lot of what we do. They just can't speak to the standard of care, and they would find an expert RN for that. But they do have success and they do really enjoy their jobs. PJ, quiet, baby. So yes, LVNs can do this. Also, another thing about LVNs, which most people don't know, is that there is a number of wound care cases that come up in nursing homes. And who runs these nursing homes, you guys? Come on, shout it out in the comments. I'm going to wait for your response and take a drink here. Who runs nursing homes? LVNs, right? It's typically LVNs. And if a LVN, let's say, is being sued for, they're saying, right, with DONs, but sorry, on the floor, who's running everything? It's mostly LVNs, right? So say an LVN was being sued for something. A lot of times we have to find an LVN with the same wound care experience or the same nursing home experience to testify. So LVNs have testified before, and LVNs do testify, and LVNs have done depositions. So is there a role for the LVN? There is. Is it as broad as the RNs? No. But it can be if you're a creative person, right? So say you're an LVN and you can do certain things as a legal nurse, and then you decide you want to also function as a paralegal. You can be a LVN/paralegal. And there's quite a few of them that do it. And actually they do a really great job. What's up, Nicole? So side note, we do get this all the time. You'll see it. If you look up anywhere on the internet, can an LVN be a legal nurse? It will say no. It will say it's only for the registered nurse. Whoever created, the original legal nurse consultant position wanted it to be an RN role. But you guys, it's not specific to RNs. LVNs have and do function like an LNC to a certain extent. So there is a job for you if you're creative enough and you are willing to commit. So anyway, so that's a broad kind of example of what legal nurse consulting is. Legal nurses also work for insurance companies. They do work in-house in hospital settings, quality assurance and, chart reviews, stuff like that. They can work in-house as an attorney, they can work in-house with an attorney, but 99% of us choose to go the entrepreneurship route. Why? Shout out why you choose to go the entrepreneurship route in the comments below. What would be the benefit of working for yourself and marketing to attorneys versus working in the law firm itself? What would be some of the benefits to being brave enough to venture out on your own? So some of the benefits, and one of the biggest benefits, is the hourly wage. And Christina's right here. You get to set your own hours. So typically for nurses leaving bedside, they usually feel that they're undervalued. And that usually is based on a few things: not getting recognized, etc., and not being paid what you feel you're worth, right? And so that's a big one. So legal nurse consultants, and we'll talk about this in a minute, have the ability when they work on their own to make significantly more money hourly, which typically means what? You get to work less, right? If you're making more, you get to work less. And what Christina said is you get to, make your own schedule or make your own hours, which is 100% right. So we typically work for medical malpractice attorneys, and that tends to be where a nurse's brain goes first. When they think legal nurse consulting, they think the only thing I would do is work med mal cases. And I think that's where we get a lot of the, I don't want to tattle on my colleagues' comments, people that are not educated whatsoever about legal nurse consulting and how it really works. They just form this opinion on what this field is and how we function. So that's definitely something that I like to kind of bust in the beginning. What we usually do is we get to have a really broad arena for marketing. Not only do we do medical malpractice cases, but we also do any case where an injury has happened, any case where there are medical records. So personal injury cases, somebody gets hit by a bus, right? Somebody falls off their bike and gets ran over by a car. Someone falls in an empty pool on an apartment complex building property. Personal injury cases, workers' comp cases. I guess the pool falling in while on work on duty could also fall under workers' comp. But workers' comp cases, somebody's injured on the job. They are working with a machine and they chop off their arm. Anytime there's records, we can help. Criminal cases, which happen to be my very favorite cases in my specialty, a lot of criminal cases will come up. So say someone was shot or beat up at a bar, those types of things are going to have what? Most likely an ambulance record, an ER record. We're going to know if they were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And we can be hired for the defense or plaintiff in any of these cases. We're not stuck to just always working for the plaintiff or the person complaining of something that happened to them. Does that make sense? Do they do DCFS cases? If there is medical records involved. And also the thing I like, Christina, that's a good question. If there were medical records involved, yes. But also if you are creative enough as a entrepreneur in the LNC role, and you yourself found value in working with DCFS, you could create your own position, talk to DCFS, and, you know, basically sell why you would be of value to those cases. Maybe there's something, you know, maybe in the process of, you know, how they function, you could say, this is missing a nurse here at this point, and this is what I could do to help. So what I love about this field is the ability to be creative. So there are so many ways to make money as a legal nurse consultant other than just reviewing records. There are a lot of ways. If you're creative enough, there are a ton of ways. There are doctors that review records that sometimes need help. There are organizations out there that check for merit in cases that get forwarded to attorney firms. They typically need help. If you are creative enough, you can pitch what you do and how you help to anyone that you see a value in adding a nurse to their practice. And we've done quite a few different types of legal nurse consulting. And sometimes it's not even like legal nurse consulting. There was, there was this huge case that we did, and it was, you guys, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of text messages that we needed to go through the text messages and organize them and put them into this timeline for the attorney to use to understand what happened in their case, or investigating someone's Facebook. There's like all kinds of different things you can do in legal nurse consulting. So the ability to have an open mind, the ability to, think creatively as you're building your business. And the longer you're in business, the more creative you get. When we're new, we're very much in a box and we're thinking these are the only things I can do. But as you grow and as attorneys start asking you to do things that aren't on your list of services, which they will, and oh, yeah, I could do that. You start to realize there's other needs that you could fulfill. And how cool is that? It's really, really awesome, you guys. So how do you make money from doing legal nurse consulting? Well, typically what we do is we will work on a case. Before we start work on a case, we collect what's called a retainer fee. Now, attorneys work off of retainer fees. It's what they do. It's how they function. They don't take a case unless they've first collected some money from their client. Why do people collect money up front? Yeah, well, usually to ensure that you're serious, right? If you invest, you're going to stick with it. You're going to go through the whole process. The money that you're paying up front ensures that I'm going to go to work for you and you're going to get your product, right? And you don't want to get stiffed. And if they do stiff you, at least you have some money. So anyway, we collect a retainer up front. We work off of hours that we give them. We assess, we go through the records, we give them a time estimate of how long we think it's going to take to build exactly what they need. Now, this is something, PJ baby, shh, this child. We give work product to attorneys that is tailored to their needs. Tailored. And this is where most LNCs get it wrong. This is where most LNCs fail. And this is where LNC business is it a scam? People are popping out template type work product without thinking of their client's needs, their educational level, how that attorney learns, what works best for them, visuals, no visuals, do they like, long paragraphs? And they turn in these reports that an attorney still can't use, and they never call them again. So a nurse will say, I tried that. It didn't work. I did one case. The guy never called me back. Well, you didn't know how to write a report that kept your attorney coming back for more. What you want in this field is to have your clients coming back time and time and time again and staying with you for years. And they're so happy and so excited to have you a part of their team that they tell all their friends. Right? Does that make sense, you guys? So once you've created a work product that you are so proud of and the attorneys are just in love with because you've actually taken into consideration their needs, because they're all different. Why anyone thinks we can create the same work product for every single attorney, it blows my mind. But there are nurses who will go out there and create the exact same work product for every single attorney. Every single one. You are not helping anyone if you give them a report. Let's say, so you've got this attorney who's been specializing in TBI for 30 years. Guy is genius. He could probably teach us a thing or two about TBI, okay? Then you've got the new grad who's been an attorney for about 3 years, just taking on his first TBI case. Can I write a report for the 30-year veteran who goes to conferences and teaches people about TBIs? Can I write that report and then turn it over and give it to the 3-year attorney with 0 TBI experience and no medical training? What do you guys think? Do you think that works? Because most LNCs do. This is where most LNCs fail. They go through a program that teaches them what a legal nurse consultant is, but does not teach them how to go out, make really great product, market to attorneys, and get those clients coming back for more. This is so, so important, you guys. This is like the most important thing. I think the biggest reason that legal nurse consulting got scam tacked to it is one, there's probably a few, more than just one. One is mindset and the person's ability to believe in themselves and to do this field, and never quit. Most of the time, if we don't see a return in investment and we're nurses, in the first 2 weeks, we freak out and we go back to the bedside. We're just impatient people. Patience is super important when building a business. It's the reason most of us can't just quit our job and do this full time. And I have a lot of nurses that will say that to me. They'll say, well, I'm going to have to work my job and do this. Yeah, we all had to. We all had to work our job and build a business, all of us. I've known maybe 3 people in the entirety of my career who were able to quit their job and do this full time. And most of it's because they had a supportive spouse or their spouse made, enough money to pay the bills for a little while. So scam, they tried it. They wrote a report. They actually landed an attorney. That's awesome. They wrote a report. Guy never calls them back. One reason this gets called a scam. Second reason would be they marketed, they didn't really know how to market. And I always tell everyone, the fortune is in the follow-up. Most LNCs that are new send one email, send one mailer and go, that didn't work. I tried it. It's a scam. What if I told you you had to follow up with the same attorney like 7 to 9 times before they actually hired you? How many nurses are patient enough to wait for that to happen? We get nurses in here and they send out one email and they're like, I haven't heard anything. The world is ending. No, you guys, the average consumer, it takes 7 to 9 touches, if you will, for them to go, oh, I think I need this. What's up, Linda? And so when we don't get the results we want right up front, we quit. Then we go to some forum because we spent $20K on a program. We didn't land any attorneys. We're out money and we're back at bedside and we are ticked. So we blow up the forums, we blow up Facebook, we let everybody know legal nurse consulting is a scam because we tried it and it did not work. But what we're not telling is the entire story. If people would share the entire story, it's like I get frustrated on forums because I'll see nurses ask a question about legal nurse consulting. And one of the big ones they ask will be, "What's up, Kaylee?" One of the big questions that gets asked is, "I've been a nurse for 3 years. Can I be a legal nurse consultant?" And the first thing that comes back, some old lady that's been doing it for 40 years says, "No, you have to have been an RN for 10 years before you can be a legal nurse consultant." So let me tell you something. Some of my very best LNCs were newer nurses. Why? Eager to learn. Can teach them things. They don't fight back. They listen. Some of my very best LNCs were new nurses. Also, there is no hard written rule that you have to be 10 years as an RN to be an LNC. Typically what they're talking about is as an expert. So 2 different ways really to work as an LNC, right? Behind the scenes or as an expert. To be considered an expert in a field, we say about 10 years makes you an expert, just as a guesstimate. But let me tell you something. If I'm the only nurse with a specialty in PICC lines, and I've only been doing it for 15 months, and there's a PICC line lawsuit, who are they going to call? Ghostbusters. They're going to call me, right? If they can't find another expert, they have to have an expert. So this is what makes me so mad. And I think this is why it has such a scam is you've got these people out there, just there's so many like falsities. There's so many untruths swirling in the media. And it is my job and my goal to squash every single one of those, because every single one of you can do this. There's absolutely no reason you can't be a legal nurse consultant if that's what you want to do. If you want to leave the hospital, if you want to make more money, if you want to make your own schedule, if you want to see your kids play baseball on Saturday, if you want to spend Christmas morning with them, you can do it. It's really up to you. So here's some tips. If I'm considering becoming a legal nurse consultant, what should I avoid? I always get people that come to me and say, well, I'm thinking of doing this local college program taught by an English teacher. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, you'll come back. People always come back to our program, and it sucks because they've ended up spending twice as much. Programs that are run by people who do not have a successful legal nurse consulting business, bing, 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 bing. Do you want to learn from the person doing it? Or do you want to learn from someone who read a book about it? Tell me in the comments. Do you want to learn from a person actually doing it? Or do you want to learn from a person who went in, read a book about it, and wrote a PowerPoint?
I think we should do some fun crafts.
Yes, we can do some fun crafts. My child's asking if we can do crafts. I'm almost done. Look, 2 minutes. If the only business they have is teaching people how to do something that they don't actually do well, I would be a little wary, right? Right, you guys? So Legal Nurses Rock is under an umbrella, National Nurse Consulting, and now known as Legal Nurses for Justice. Okay, open it, bud. So we actually have a fully functioning LNC business, and I have numerous subcontractors on my team that have been with me for 3-4+ years. My child's being so loud. What else should I avoid? Spinning my wheels for years to learn what I could in just a few months from the right coach. Sometimes I think my students are spoiled. I'll be honest. When I started the program that I took 13 years ago, $20,000, popped out ignorance on fire, put on my best looking suit, walked out the door and said, I don't know where to even start. It took me nearly 3 years to build something. That's my Aunt Debbie. What's up, Aunt Debbie? To build something and to figure it all out. We've taken everything that we've learned in the last 13 years, everything that's worked, and we've kicked out everything that doesn't work. And we've focused our students exactly on what they need to know to do, how to do it. And man, if you can copy and paste, you can do this. To have our students have the ability to make their money back within the first 3 to 6 months. Any of you pay off your nursing loans in 3 to 6 months? How many of you still have nursing loans? Shout out student loans in the comments. I still have student loans I need to pay off. There's like no business that can get a return on their investment within the first few months. If you opened a donut shop, if you opened a clothing store, if you opened, I don't know, a doggy shampoo washing shop, there is so much overhead, hundreds of thousands of dollars in starting a business. And legal nurse consulting is one of the very few businesses that a nurse can start with very, very little overhead and have the ability to pay that back very quick. So most people are like, well, how do I pay this back? So the average case, and I say average, is about $2,500 for what we charge for one case, which takes us about 2 to 3 days. Okay, because we're charging more. The LNC typically makes $135 to $175 an hour, 300-ish plus if you're a deposition or trial. So if you're making $150 an hour, you make a lot more money, right? If you're working 2 to 3 days. So you can pay back your investment. You need a new computer, you need a printer, you want special training and coaching. What, in 4 cases? We get 4 cases a week. We get a lot more than 4 cases a week. But what I'm saying is you could pay it off in a week if you wanted to. It's all a matter of you and how hard you're going to work it. Something else I don't recommend is going to a university or college to learn legal nurse consulting unless it's actually taught by a legal nurse consultant. It's like a one-off for some of these universities, especially the online universities. It's like a lawyer. A lot of people are like, he's a lawyer, so he taught me how to be an LNC. A lawyer that wasn't a nurse might have some good insight and give you some great tips on what helps them. 1 second, buddy. But thank you. But a lawyer is not a nurse, and a lawyer is not a legal nurse consultant. And what if the lawyer was an LNC, they wouldn't need an LNC, right? Their job is law, and your job is medicine. And there's a really big divide there. Trust me. I had a lawyer practicing for like 20 years and thought a G-tube went in the nose. Hired me because he kept looking through all the photos and all he saw was a tube in this guy's belly, but he never saw a tube in the guy's nose. So he thought they were lying. You weren't lying, you just didn't know what it meant. And another thing that I would avoid is investing in a program and then abandoning it altogether. Anyone that I used to do the calls, but we've gotten so big, I have a sales team now that helps out with our calls. But the one thing I will tell, and I will be incredibly honest with everyone that comes through, is I don't want your money if you're not going to follow through. I don't want to help you if you don't plan on following through. In this niche, and it is a small niche, we all know each other very well. And it's funny when people don't show up to their calls. When they don't show up, like they book a call with my sales team and they don't show up. I'm like, they have no idea just how small this field is, do they? We'll see them again. Keep your name right, guys. Do what you say you're going to do. And don't be crazy. And we're going to see you again. But if you are committed to doing this as your business, be fully committed. Life happens. I get it. Sometimes you need to take a few days off, but you don't take 6 months off. You don't even take like 2 weeks off. I still don't know that I've actually taken a real vacation from my business in 13 years because it's incredibly important to me. And not only is it important to me, you guys, I love it. I don't need a vacation from it. None of it. I don't need a vacation from legal nurse consulting. It makes my heart so happy. Oh, Donna, I love you too, Donna. Donna's one of our students and she's the best, just the best.
What the heck are you talking to someone on the phone, and how is your computer connecting to
Right,
your
my child is asking questions about the internet. So you guys, I hope that I was able to bust, is legal nurse consulting a scam? It is not a scam. It is up to you solely to commit. I always tell everyone, we can lead you to water, but I cannot shove your face in the lake and make you drink. Okay. And it's true. I could tell you, I can look at you, Laura, and say, or Lori, I can look at you, Lori, and say, Lori, I know that you're going to be successful. I can see it. I could know behind the scenes. I could have 5 attorneys lined up and I need help. And I'm looking at Lori going, she could totally do this. And Lori quits in a week because she doesn't believe in herself. It happens all the time. People quit on themselves all the time. So only look at pursuing this if you know.
Can I have one of these, a 2x2? One of these?
Yes. If you know, you're going to stick with it and see it through to the end. All right, you guys, that's it. Thank you for joining me today. Check us out at legalnursesrock.com. We're starting another cohort this week, actually. It's going to go from today until Friday. So we're letting everybody jump in, get started, start in the certificate program, and then move right into our report writing program. If you're interested in learning more, go ahead and comment me below in the comment section, and myself or my team will get back with you. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you all on the inside.